Progressive Voice. Dave, welcome back.
Hey Josh, how you doing?
Doing all right. Hanging in there.
Right
So
on.
I guess we'll start out talking about the probably what I think is the biggest news of the week, and that is the DNC released the debate lineups into two different nights. Did you get a chance to think about that? And
Yeah, a little bit. Let's go over. You want to go over the? Let's go over night one here. The
okay,
debate lineups for night one, June 26th, is Cory Booker, Julian Castro, Bill De Blasio, is it John Delaney? I got the last names written down.
that's right, John Delaney.
Okay. Tulsi Gabbard, Jay Inslee, Klobuchar, O'Rourke, Tim Ryan, and Elizabeth Warren. So I see one really strong progressive on that stage
Okay,
in Tulsi Gabbard.
I agree.
Other than that, it seems pretty uneventful. It seems very nothing's leaping out at me. We have Elizabeth Warren on there too. So okay, that's Gabbard versus Warren. What do you think that Tulsi could call Warren out on, or like kind of like corner her with?
Comparing her war history, with Elizabeth Warren, who has voted for wars. Also comparing her taking PAC money. Warren is going to be taking PAC money if she takes the nomination. In the primary, she's not, but if she wins the nomination, she has stated she will be taking PAC money. And I
Right.
think that includes super PAC money as well. She wants to win, basically, is what she said. She thinks it's important to win.
Yeah,
Uh,
I think it's a rigged game, and she wants to play with the rigging.
And I think finally, most importantly, is distinguish that Tulsi Gabbard, is taking a realistic approach to meeting all the demands and issues that are important to American people, because without the money that we're pouring into the military, it's pretty unrealistic, some of it, much of it.
Oh
And
yeah,
Warren,
yeah.
Warren doesn't seem to be very strong on the foreign policy front. So
Okay, so she can outshine her on that front.
how about yourself? What do you see as an opportunity for Tulsi Gabbard in that debate?
Wow, she's so. I mean, just looking at the list, she's so strong on so many things. But she has, in my opinion, she has the whole field out kicked though. With the anti-regime change war stance she's taking, it's
Mhm.
basically her flagship proposal. No one's even close to her, like on that. I mean, you got Sanders, of course, or who else would Marianne Williamson? That's another stage. But just she just has the whole freaking all 20 of them just blown out of the water. So the contrast is just going to illuminate with Tulsi Gabbard. Like she's just going to stand out so tremendously on the whole wasteful regime change war stance that she has. I think it's so polarizing, and that's just great. So this stage, she looks like she's going to outshine them on that front, and then at large, she can outshine most of the field. So it's just she will be illuminated just on that stance alone.
Mm-hmm. Some also argue that Elizabeth Warren lost an opportunity to face Joe Biden, where she might have been able to chip away at some of his votes. Others argue that it's a winner for her, for Elizabeth Warren, because she's so strong. She's leading the rest of the pack by, I think she's like 13-15% in the national polls now, compared to the second place, which is probably Cory Booker, Beto O'Rourke, around 3%. So she's clearly way ahead of the rest of the candidates in that regard.
Yeah, and that's another interesting point. Warren's her stasis in the polls is really strong recently. The latest Monmouth poll has Biden number one at 36%, and Warren in second place with 19%, and Sanders third place 13%. What are you thinking about Warren's staying power in the polls? It seems like in a lot of polls she's holding at second or third place. Where's all that coming from?
Well, I think it's coming mainly from Biden and Bernie Sanders. I do think most of it's coming from Bernie Sanders, I think what I've noticed is she has a pattern of taking Bernie Sanders' platform and making it more digestible to the middle.
Okay.
Um, where she kind of plays, as you always said, she kind of plays in the middle progressive side, and
Right.
so she's able to kind of pull from Biden and Bernie at the same time. Uh, yeah,
Interesting.
I think
Yeah.
for whatever reason, some people right now on the left are liking the wonkiness. They like that she keeps reinventing. The whole sort of image as her being the "I've got a plan" candidate is winning people
Right.
over.
Okay. And
What do
then
you see?
that is her. Go ahead.
Do you see her having staying power, and is she going to continue to just keep pulling ahead?
Yeah, yeah. I honestly believe she's a very strong contender, and she's going to at least be in the top three. Until we're into the debates. I really believe she's. I don't know. She's stronger than I want to give her credit for. But we have to give her the.
All right, so looking up the lineup for the following night on the 27th, Bernie Sanders, Kamala Harris, Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, Mike Bennett, Marianne Williamson, Eric Swalwell, Kirsten Gillibrand, Andrew Yang, and John Hickenlooper. So what stands out there for you?
Okay, the first thing that stands out for me here is okay. Well, my picks, I like Andrew Yang, I like Marianne Williamson, and Bernie Sanders are all on the same stage with Joe Biden. And I'm just loving that for the simple fact that Williamson, Yang, and Bernie will just outflank Joe Biden from the right. I mean, I'm sorry, from the left, excuse me. So I mean, Biden is set to go down in the polls. We know he's just going to keep going down and down and down. But this is just going to slam him down. In my opinion, I believe having Biden on the stage with people like Sanders, Williamson, and Andrew Yang isn't going to serve Biden well. I just think it's going to frame him as the right wing Democrat that he is, and I don't know.
So
I
the,
see that as a bonus.
so the best approach for progressives at this time would be for them not to go after each other, but rather strategize to go after Joe Biden together, and then later they can duke it out. Okay. How about Pete
Viable. Viable.
Buttigieg and Kamala Harris? How do they fit into that in your mind?
Buttigieg and Harris. I don't know. I mean, I actually see them even outflanking Biden to a degree, not to a large progressive degree as the people I mentioned before, but still outflanking Biden, who is probably more to the right than Buttigieg and Harris. But yeah, I would say it's a negative to have Buttigieg there, and it's a negative to have Kamala Harris there too, who will outflank Biden to a smaller degree. What do you think?
I think Kamala Harris is going to go after Bernie Sanders. I think she
Really?
knows California is extremely important for her. She's currently in fourth place there, behind Elizabeth
Okay.
Warren and Sanders, and then of course Biden. Pete Buttigieg, I think he'll likely go after Biden. I think he feels he can probably gain most from doing that,
Okay. Okay.
and he'll appeal to progressives. He'll come across like, I'm more progressive than you think I am. Let's talk about Andrew Yang. Thoughts on that? What do you think? What's his best strategy?
Well, like how I was talking about Tulsi Gabbard Gabbard has this polarizing policy or stance with anti-regime change wars, where no one's doing it, and it makes her stand out, in a very strong light. Well, for Andrew Yang, his flagship proposal of universal basic income, $1,000 a month, is the same deal. You have somebody who's standing up there who has this very strong polarizing policy, and it's just going to outshine all of these people because no one comes close to it. I think Sanders is more UBI, but he doesn't talk about it. He doesn't really go after it. So Andrew Yang having a flagship proposal of UBI is going to just he's going to illuminate himself up on that stage. It'll be big for him.
I think the biggest thing he's going to have to accomplish is shaking off the white nationalist associations. I think they're going to try to frame him around that. They're going to use that to peg him as much as they can, pin him down with that. Could undermine his campaign if he's not careful. I think, what do you think would be the best approach for him? Should he just come out and just straight away make a very strong disavowalment? Or what would be the other way you think he should approach this?
Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I almost think his inclination would be, his instinct would be to laugh it off, because it's such a ridiculous claim. And, you know, like Andrew does have a sense of humor, and he has a light heart. And I could see him just saying, hey, look, I'm the son of immigrants. I'm an Asian guy. I have nothing to do with these people. And, you know, but no, you're right. He might have to disavow them again, which he's done a dozen times.
Yeah, that may not be enough for people. They probably want to hear some blood, you know.
Oh, for sure. You know.
So in other words, he's going to have to make a strong, like, you know, don't welcome them. I don't need their votes. I completely reject any racist, you know, rhetoric.
Yes.
Rather than making light of it, like, oh, my Asian loves math, and that's the opposite, you know, rather than kind of framing it that way. Okay.
Yeah.
And how about Marianne? Absolutely agree. How about Marianne Williamson? How can she best stand out?
Marianne, another one of my favorites. Oh, I don't know if I have like anything but a generic answer. Well, I think reparations. Now I think about it more. One of her main policies is or goals is to talk about reparations. I don't know anyone on this list. I think Bernie is on for it too. Who else? No one else on this. I don't know anyone on this panel who is going strongly for reparations. So she can stand out on that alone, and that's a very polarizing situation for her. So I think reparations would stand out the most for her. I think she could lead that debate and, you know, get that going into the debates throughout the months to come.
Yeah. Okay. So lastly, before we move on to the next topic, let's just go very quickly back to night one. Tell me who you think are the dark horses. Who do you think might come out surprising people?
Dark horse picks?
On night one.
Night one. Okay. Night one, dark horse picks. Man. Dark horses. Oh. Can I give O'Rourke the dark horse?
Sure.
I don't know. I would say Tulsi Gabbard. I mean, I would definitely say Tulsi is the unassuming one here, because no one, like I said, no one hears the messages that she's talking about. So I think this should be a launch pad for Tulsi Gabbard to set her up to be a dark horse. If I would probably think my second one would probably be Beto. I like to undermine him a lot. And I do, but I think he can sucker people into, I don't know why he has that shiny, glossy, centrist thing going on that just dupes people. I don't know. But I think the more I think about it is Tulsi Gabbard is the dark horse.
Okay.
What about you?
I'm going to say number 3 would be Bill de Blasio. Second will be Julian Castro. And then finally, Tulsi Gabbard. I say Julian Castro because I think they're going to bring up a lot of topics around immigration, and he's from Texas, and he's going to speak out strongly on that, and he's going to appeal to the Obama administration era where he was part of that HUD. He was secretary for HUD there, urban development. And I think that'll appeal to the audience. Bill de Blasio, I say, because he's going to show he's a lot more progressive than people realize. And then obviously Tulsi, I think, is pretty obvious while she'll shine. Most people don't know her.
Okay.
So
Yeah, she's an unknown. She's polling at 1%, and what people do know is probably something that the mainstream media has biasly accused her of, which is sad. But I really think people can make up their own minds, and they will make up their own minds. And Tulsi is such a compelling speaker. Like, she's just one of those people you just have a good instinct about. I have a good instinct about Tulsi Gabbard. I hope that registers with Americans at large.
I do too. Okay, so night two, who do you think is going to walk away surprising people?
Well, I've been calling it for months, maybe half a year at this point. It's going to be Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang is he is the dark horse out of both nights, out of the whole thing, in my opinion. I really think he has a very compelling policy, flagship proposal of universal basic income. It's very well thought out. It could be improved, but the Americans at large haven't really heard about it in the context that he provides, which is with automation, and how it's not immigrants taking our jobs, it's immigrants taking our jobs. Like, his whole package deal with UBI is very compelling. Mm-hmm. So Yang will be a showstopper. I'm saying he's going to be a showstopper for months. So it'll be Andrew Yang. Number one. Number two, if I had to pick another one, Marianne Williamson. I have confidence that Marianne Williamson will win over a lot of people. And if I had to pick another one, Sanders isn't a dark horse. Buttigieg. I mean, Buttigieg is a legit threat. No one should undermine Pete Buttigieg at all. I think he's going to be a very strong contender going through the primaries.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'll agree with two of yours. I think number three is going to be Kirsten Gillibrand. I think that she's going to get up there and she's going to talk to abortion. She's going to talk to women's rights, things of that nature, equality rights for gays. I think it's going to appeal to a lot of people. I think she's going to kind of shine up to Pete Buttigieg. And then second, I'm going to give it to Pete Buttigieg. This guy, he is really outstanding speaker. He knows how to talk. He's charming. He's articulate. What can you say? Number
Obama-esque.
Yeah. Obama-esque, absolutely, yeah. Number one, yes, I think Andrew Yang will strike. Now, I don't think it's going to be where it's the first debate and then all of a sudden the poll numbers get shaken up. Andrew Yang starts climbing up. Well, I think it's going to be a more gentle rise for him. I think it's going to be more like people are going to start looking into him a little more. Maybe a little more cautious. Yeah. So he might gain a 1 or 2% by the time the second debate comes around, something like that. It jumps up to 2, 3, 4% range. But he's secured. Yeah. He's pretty secure. He's like about 10,000 off to get the third and fourth debate. So he's going to be around.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Should we move on to next topic?
You want to talk? Sure. Did you want to talk about Mike Gravel for a second?
Who is it? Mike Gravel? Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah. What do you think? I understand he didn't make the debates.
The qualifications for the first debate and the second debate is July 30th and 31st. So we have a debate next month too, where it says that the qualifications are the same at 65,000 or 1% support in 3 qualifying polls. So we should still be donating to Mike Gravel.
Okay.
If he's on the debate stage, right? Or do I have this wrong?
Yeah, I don't know. See, I keep hearing conflicting messages on that. Some saying that the deadline was June the 12th. Now, with what you just described, that seems to suggest differently. So we'll just have to look into that.
If anyone has any information about that, leave it down in the comments because we need some clarification. I keep up with Mike Gravel's Twitter and other social media, but it seems like there's always some conflicts around these things. And the DNC isn't great on their sites either with supplying this information. But
And lastly, before we move on to the next topic, who do you think is going to be kind of starting to drop off following the first and second debate? Like who do you see?
Okay, that's a good question. Who do I think is just going to fall like on their face?
Yeah, start. Just like, okay, I'm done. It's obvious I'm not going to win here, so I'll just move on.
I think there's a lot of those. There's so many people. Like it's just so wide open. I think Klobuchar will drop out. I think who else? Like people like Tim Ryan, Michael Bennett, Hickenlooper, Delaney. I don't see these guys hanging around past 1 or 2. Yeah, I mean, they're just going to start dropping like flies. I mean, they just can't contend.
Right.
Do you have anybody?
I agree.
Who do you think is going to fall off the face of the earth here?
I think it will be Eric Swalwell, Hickenlooper, Michael Bennett, as you pointed out. I'm going to say Delaney's going to stick around a little longer because he's got a lot of money. And maybe Tim Ryan and Jay Inslee will drop out eventually, pretty soon.
Okay.
So, all right. So, anything else on that before we move on to the next topic?
Well, yeah. Actually, just one more note. Like whether Mike Gravel can make July, the third debate, which is September 12th and 13th. Where there's an increased qualification measure that they have to poll at 2% or 130,000 individual unique donations from 400 different 400 different donors in at least 20 states. So keep like donating to people like Mike Gravel or Marianne Williamson or Andrew Yang or anybody you want, because they need 130,000 for the September debate. So, you can donate as little as $1. You don't have to donate a lot. We need new people to keep coming into the fold and get some new donor action going here. So keep donating.
Right. So I understand that TYT pulled together what's called a Progressive Economic Pact. What do you know about that, Dave? What are some of the candidates that signed on or didn't sign on?
Let me see. Okay, yeah, I got a list of candidates who have signed on. See, Ro Khanna, Justice Democrats, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Kyle Kulinski, the PCCC, Bernie Sanders, Marianne Williamson, Mike Gravel, Cenk Uygur, Anna Kasparian, Allison Hartson, and John Idearola have signed on so far. And it's only been the TYT Progressive Economic Pact has 5 pillars, and they're relatively short. I'll burn through them here. Number 1 is higher wages. And it says, I pledge to fight for $15 minimum wage and collective bargaining and to work on behalf of the American worker instead of corporate donors. What do you think of that one?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's good. I know that I've always had a little bit of a different slant on the whole minimum wage thing. I've always believed it was should be titrated per region and per size of the company. That's just always the way I've been about it. So but again, I'm not a make or break on that one. So what are your thoughts on the minimum wage thing? The PACs, the first one being minimum wage, I think you said.
Yeah, I pledge to fight for $15 minimum wage and collective bargaining. Yeah, I'm definitely for that. I mean, like, if you look at the minimum wage, it's $7.25. It hasn't been changed in over a decade. And workers' rights have receded over the past 40 or so years. So we need collective bargaining to strengthen. So I'm on board with this. It's pretty easy.
So I know that a couple of the progressive candidates did not sign on. Now, what does it mean to sign on to the Pact? Does it mean we're only going to support you if you sign on to the Pact?
I don't think I've even heard that explanation, but I'm in. I think it's implying that yes, like if you sign this, you are to fight for higher wages. You are to.
Okay. But it's not
So I
saying that if you don't sign it, we're not putting our weight behind you. That's that's a wrong read into it.
I think it's implied that if you
Okay.
don't, we're not going to support you.
Mm.
But it's kind of weird because Andrew Yang didn't support it, but he
No,
said
he
I'm on
doesn't sign
board
it.
with it.
I think he's saying he had a different approach to getting where people want to go in spirit, which is making sure that no one is in poverty. You know, he's going for the UBI, and he believes in minimum wage. He just doesn't believe in $15 an hour. Thinks that would hurt
Right.
small companies.
Yeah, he believes the UBI is the correct way to go. And with Andrew Yang's UBI, it would be an effective raise of $6 per hour, I believe.
675. Yeah. Hmm.
Okay, yeah, so it kind of works out the same, but yeah, it's just a different route. And like Andrew Yang said, he loves the spirit of it, and he's on board with 90% of it, but he's likely not going to sign. And Jank and Andrew seem pretty legit. Like I can tell, even though Andrew didn't sign it, like they're pretty cool. Like because a lot of progressives, I think have a lot of beefs with Andrew Yang, but I've kind of adopted Andrew Yang. Like I'm a progressive, but I've kind of adopted Andrew Yang. Like, okay, that's the way I see it. And I know a lot of progressives have a big problem with Andrew Yang, but I don't know. I think he is a good actor, a good faith actor. I think he has his own route to get where we need to be. Okay, but anyway, that's besides the point. Let's get to pillar number 2, which is Medicare for all. I pledge to fight for single payer Medicare for all healthcare system that transforms healthcare in this country into a right, not a privilege. Not a privilege. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. Totally 100% behind that one.
Same here. It's just like you can't go wrong with that. And that's already a litmus test in the progressive community. If you're not on board with Medicare for all, we're not on board with you. So this is kind of stuff we've already heard before. And that leads us to number 3, which is kind of the same thing. Green New Deal. I pledge to fight for a 10-year plan to mobilize every aspect of American society to achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions and create millions of new high-wage jobs, building the infrastructure and industries of the new economy. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't see any issues with moving toward that. As long as they don't mean it as in Ocasio-Cortez's Green New Deal, I'm fine with it.
Okay, yeah, I think, yeah, they just say Green New Deal. So, because some people do have a problem with AOC's Green New Deal, but it doesn't mean they're not on board with it. Like Tulsi Gabbard was saying that, like she's like, I want to do it. I'm in the spirit of it, but definitely not that particular framework.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Andrew Yang had the same sentiments, but I mean,
it just had too many attachments to it, like a federal jobs program. Medicare for all was attached to it. There were just some things that seemed too weighty. That was really it.
Okay. So
But I think everybody's
yeah.
in the same spirit, right? Everybody is wanting to get there. It's just
Right.
people have different ideas about what's the most realistic pathway to get there.
Right, exactly. Okay, so that was number 3. This is Progressive Economic Pact, tenet number 4, college for all. I pledge to fight for free college for all so that everyone can get to the American dream, not just the wealthy elite. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm not convinced college is for everyone. I'm not sure it's the best way to spend our money. I personally would like to see more from the standpoint of dealing with the debt crisis that's around us, and definitely bringing the price of college down. And as Andrew Yang thinks, broaden our horizons about what it means to contribute to society, through various different kinds of skills. College is not for, it's not a win for everyone. So, but I mean, I'm not against the spirit of it. Again, I think the spirit of it's right is in the right place. Just think it's a little more narrow than I like.
Okay, fair enough. Tenet number 5 is end the corruption. I pledged to fight for a constitutional amendment to ban the private financing of elections and to use all available paths so we can once again have free and fair elections. Your thoughts, Josh?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a little surprised they didn't put overturning Citizens United into that pledge, but I think that's what they're getting at. Absolutely. What do you think?
Oh yeah, corruption. We got to get corruption out. And like Citizens United could just be implied here. They just try to broaden the language out and not go after specific things like Citizens United, which is one of the worst. But yeah, absolutely. We need public elections. We need fair elections. We got to get the dirty money out. Andrew Yang has something called democracy dollars, where everyone gets 100 democracy dollars, whether you use them or not, you get them. And then that can, be one way to reduce or eliminate the dark money. But yes, and the corruption, full stop.
Yeah, I think that's the quickest path to getting there. All the rest of it will be lots of wrangling and years of legislation.
Yeah, always, right?
Yeah. Okay. So final, just kind of like a summary of thoughts around that, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm on board with most of it. Higher wages, yes. Medicare for all, absolutely. Green New Deal, of course. College for all. I mean, yeah, you were right. Like Andrew Yang had something where he wants to go with a trade, like build up trade schools, like to get our enrollments up in trade schools a little bit more, and like how like that's just as important as college. I'd like to see that tweak come to fruition.
To me, as a neo-progressive, he's not a Bernie Sanders camp progressive. To some extent, he is, but I think he's a step ahead. I think where we're going eventually is where Andy Yang wants to get us. Like, I do think that's the way to go. Universal basic income, democracy dollars, ranked choice voting, overturn Citizens United, social democracy dollars, things like that. I mean, yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, neo-progressive. I like that term. Yeah, because Yang isn't like a textbook progressive or maybe like Bernie Sanders, but he is definitely progressive in his own right.
Yeah, in my mind, he's just a solutions-oriented politician. That's it. You can't put title on him, really. Math. Should Sanders supporters be concerned with this? Why or why not?
Well, yeah. I mean, like between Biden, Warren, and Sanders, these are the top three, and you can see that like Warren is shaving off some of Bernie's and Biden's lead. Yeah, I mean, there's an issue with Warren being possibly the establishment's prize, their choice. They're someone they could groom.
The centrist, the DNC, believes she's well suited and she's easily moldable. That's why they're giving her more attention. They're praising her. Warren is really good at taking Sanders' platform and making it more pliable to the middle.
Watered down,
yeah. More chewable. I do think Sanders supporters need to be concerned. But what do you think can be done, if anything?
Well, I mean, like the debates are going to expose Warren in two crucial areas, in my opinion. One is going to be her waffling on Medicare for all. Where she always comes up with this many paths option, this very centrist language I think will turn a lot of people off. 7 out of 10 Americans want Medicare for all. They want a candidate who's strong on Medicare for all. Elizabeth Warren, in my opinion, is not that person. So she'll be exposed on that front. The other front will be her war spending bills that she has voted on. She's voted on, I don't forget how many she has, but she's definitely like a war hawk and pro-war spending. So she needs to be exposed for that, and the debates will expose her. Wait, is she on the same debate stage with Tulsi? If so, that's awesome, because that would
Yep.
be a great opportunity for Tulsi to be like, okay, let's expose Elizabeth Warren for being the war hawk and the war spending, person that she is. So yeah, so if she gets exposed on those two fronts, I think she will stop this. It'll definitely stop her numbers in the tracks, I think, and then people will focus on someone who's for Medicare for all, someone who is not for war, all this war spending, and that person would be Bernie Sanders, who's her opposite on those two issues.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's not next to her, but definitely, as you said, being with on the same stage with Tulsi Gabbard is a great opportunity
Yeah,
for
she's a good
Tulsi.
surrogate.
Well, Warren claims to oppose the war in Afghanistan, although her history shows differently. Yeah, I mean, her history is not really exactly clean. If you compare it to Tulsi or Bernie, she's definitely got a lot more dirt, when it comes to
Yeah,
her war history or foreign policy
yeah.
history. Okay, so last question on this one. I'll just ask you straight out. I mean, do you feel that she knows what she's doing, and that when it all comes out, she's going to be a Trojan horse for progressives? Like, she's going to come out and she's going to basically destroy Bernie Sanders, and she'll go on to endorse someone like Biden. Should she not get the nomination? I'm like, what do you feel? Like, I mean, what does your gut tell you about her? Can she be trusted or not?
If we're focused on the issues and what we know about her and her record, she doesn't stand much of a chance in the progressive context. There's always going to be someone more progressive than Elizabeth Warren in this field. So if people are genuinely focused on records instead of rhetoric, instead of talking points, instead of flowery language and whatnot, she's going to be sniffed out and she's going to sink in the polls.
God, I
But
sure hope so.
yeah,
I hope you're
and if
right. I
people,
totally hope you're right. The last topic I'd like to discuss is the Federal Jobs Guaranteed Program and UBI. So, where do you stand on that? Do they need to be opposed to one another, or where do you think the American people is on that?
where do I think the American people is on that? I mean, these two things, it's really hard to tell because these two things are pretty, I don't know, they're just unknown. Like a federal jobs program, I've never heard of this until recently. And UBI is something you only hear once in a blue moon about in the news feed. So it's really hard to gauge it. I mean, like I have some anecdotal experience with my channel of Progressive Resistance Media and the people who talk about it there. And just speaking on that level, it's definitely UBI. I would say it's 9-1 UBI is dominant. But yeah, it's really hard to tell where America is at large with these two things because they're so under discussed in news and in media. And but what's your take? Do you have any temperature gauge here on where America would be?
Yeah, I think that probably America is more ready for a federal jobs guarantee or something equivalent to that, maybe even, jobs program. UBI is still pretty fresh and new to the American public. Andrew Yang is ahead of his time. That's why I call him a neo-progressive. It's not impossible for him, to get the nomination. It's still possible as long as he, is able to get past the debates, not let the corporate media drown him out or frame him. If he knows how to work through that and he really explains his policies well, he still has a chance. But I think people understand the concept of a jobs program. They're not so clear on the guaranteed part, you see. That's the part they're not clear on, whether they agree with that or not, you see. And how about you? Like, do you see them as having to be opposed to each other?
Yeah, I can visualize a world where both of these things like they're both in play at the same time at some variance. I don't see them being, as separate from each other, or they have to be separate, or we have to have one or the other. I don't see it in that context. I can see this as these two things working in conjunction for a more just a healthier, more robust life. But if I had to personally choose, I would probably choose UBI. This is just my personal choice. It sounds like there's more freedom involved there. Some of the arguments on the federal jobs guarantee, like where it's like you'll always have a job and there will always be one there for you, but it might not be something you want to do, or it's a very limited thing. And UBI sounds like there's more freedom involved there. There's more of a libertarian element where you're more free. You're guaranteed an income, but you're more free to pursue the type of job you actually want, or the career path, or the business you want to start. So I see a little bit more freedom on the UBI end. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'd say that UBI definitely provides a lot more autonomy, gets rid of poverty. It doesn't get rid of it entirely, but it works toward that. It also changes how we think of each other as human beings, because we start to be more, I think it will encourage altruism, in that people no longer let people starve to death, or are coupling the need to work or answer to someone in order to survive. So it takes out the coercive element of having to survive. So those are the positives. Now with the federal jobs program, I think the biggest plus is it allows for networking. Let's say you wanted to be a musician. You could be on your own and try to get out there and get seen, through YouTube or whatever. But I think the connections are still a little more isolative and difficult. But with the jobs program, as they did in the 1940s, they created jobs for musicians, and they set up, places to play, nightclubs, network them with, people that are in the music industry. And it actually got a few people in the limelight, and they went on to become successful. So I definitely think that's the plus for a jobs program. I also think there's a plus in that it will allow us to transition into a Green New Deal a lot better, because you will mobilize a huge force of workers to that end, transforming our energy grid and our transportation grid, updating it to modernize it, to a new age. And then finally, I think it allows a weight to the private sector, therefore creating a lot of momentum to treat workers more fairly, because they know that private sector knows they can't just abuse workers, because they know that those workers can go off and find a job with the government. So pluses and negatives on both sides.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's why Bernie is for it too. It's going to mobilize the workforce. It sets up the Green New Deal with the millions of jobs that are going to go in there. You got the workforce all primed and ready. And I talk about our crumbling infrastructure. It's like it all ties into that. Like Bernie's looking at the broad scale, like how America's declining in our infrastructure. So people are asking, why isn't Bernie for UBI? Why isn't Bernie for UBI? And he's on record for it, but he doesn't think we need it. He thinks we need the federal jobs guarantee over UBI. Yeah,
I think a lot of people conflate Stephanie Kelton, who is for modern monetary theory and all of that, and the jobs guarantee program. Somehow they conflate her with him. He would likely bring her on to his administration as an advisor, but Bernie has never been an own man. He makes up his mind independent based on all the data, and then he sticks to it. He has a lot of integrity. Bernie has always been for UBI. There's no reason to believe that he's against it. He specifically was pointing out he's not for Andrew Yang's UBI. He doesn't feel that we need that right now. What needs to take center stage is the crumbling infrastructure. That takes precedence. UBI is just not right for Americans at this time. That's the message I'm getting from him, based on me following him for the past 3 or 4 years, watching all the videos on him stating very poignantly, yes, I believe UBI is the way to go. I don't think America's ready for it yet. So he's just not one to change his mind on things, on big issues like that.
I agree. Yeah.
So, and lastly on that, I just wanted to say, because I think it's important to point out, I also agree with you that I think a jobs program and a UBI complement one another. There's so many reasons they complement one another. I mean, it's just, first off, the UBI, Andrew Yang's UBI, is not enough to survive on. Excuse me. It is enough to survive on, but it's not enough to do beyond that. You're still kind of like borderline poverty.
Right.
So the jobs program provides that opportunity to not only, it's stepping stones from one to the other. On the flip side, a jobs program doesn't answer to, again, having to be tied to or coerced to have to work just to survive. So it doesn't answer to why are we thinking that way as humans? Why are we treating other humans like that? Why are we saying you've got to do that? We will not let you have water or food unless you do what we say. Air's free, so why shouldn't water and food be free, or at least accessible, without having to answer to someone or go through someone? So that's that side of it. So I think they complement each other greatly. And I don't understand the big fight over, especially Real Progressive Channel, which, don't get me wrong, I like a lot of what they've done in the past, but I don't know why they're so staunchly against UBI. And then on the flip side, you see some UBIers are so staunchly against the jobs program. I just don't get it. They totally are good for one another. What are your thoughts on why there's so much animosity between those two groups?
Yeah, wow. That resonated when you said that. Like, I can't, I've lost track of how many progressives that I know and follow and like and respect who keep saying UBI is this god awful thing. And they bring up this, it's a Band-Aid. Okay, you're talking about UBI is a Band-Aid for a struggling capitalist system. That might be true, and it likely is true to some degree, but it's still a step forward. Like, UBI is still a step forward. They're acting like it's like a Trojan horse. That keeps coming up. Then, oh no, UBI is a Trojan horse. No, we got to do. Yeah, I know we can do other things too, and we're likely going to. But I just can't get over the toxic rhetoric about UBI. It's hard to find progressives who are on board with UBI at all.
It's also quite shocking because I really was not expecting this amount of pushback. Once Andrew Yang came onto the spotlight and he was highlighting UBI, I thought, whoa, man, this is great. Progressives are going to be so happy. And, get, sort of like half and half on that. But I didn't want to blow it out of proportion because you do get a lot of progressives that totally get it. And also, I don't want it to make it like one side, because you get a lot of people that are UBIers that are also like, federal jobs program, we don't need that. That's just going to create bureaucracy and all this other stuff, I think we're going to miss half the boat if we go for one and not the other. We need to go for both, in my humble opinion.
Oh yeah, I'm on board for both. So it's like I can't pick one or the other.
Lastly, on that, I wanted to ask you, Dave, what do you think about the guaranteed part of it?
The guarantee part of the federal jobs guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
Well, job security. You're guaranteed a job if you want it. I think it's a positive thing. I've heard some people say it's straight up socialism. Like it's like we're going to put you to work. We're going to force you to work. Like they put this really far left spin on it, but. I don't know. I can't see anything negative in having a guaranteed job if you want it. Okay. No one's going to force you to work it. Okay. But it's there if you want it. I don't know how I could be against that, or anyone else could be against, a guaranteed job if you want it.
Yeah. I'm not against a jobs program. And I totally agree with you. It has nothing to do with socialism whatsoever.
Right.
People just don't seem to understand what socialism means. And like you said, it's going to provide all kinds of opportunity. It's not forced. It's just like UBI. You opt into it or you don't.
Right.
People don't realize UBI. You don't even have to take that, and it's optional. It's not even forced. So if you don't want to take the 1,000, you don't have to. You can have a lot of rich people can say, "Hey, I don't need it. Don't send a check to me." So it's nothing like some people are imagining. Providing you an opportunity wouldn't otherwise exist. You're going to see more job postings up on monster.com. You're going to have people that help you write your resume. You're going to have a job coach that's going to be there with you, helping you through. It's going to create networking. There's so many positives. It's just mind-blowing what a jobs program would do. There's so many benefits, not only on an individual level, but on a societal level to the jobs program. Now, having said all of that, I just cannot get on board to the guaranteed part for so many reasons. I think that it can break down morale. I think people can take advantage of it. People can show up to work and clock in and not do anything. Now, I know this is probably anecdotal. That's why even if Bernie Sanders were to be elected and he were to push forth a guaranteed jobs program, I still would support it. The negatives outweighed by the positives that are going to come from it. Because again, those situations, people can take advantage of the system and all that. Those arguments are used all the time. In the ideal world, I would say go for a jobs program, but not necessarily guaranteed. Because again, people can abuse that. But it's fine. It's not a make or break for me. I totally think that it's, again, the positives are just massively outweigh the potential abusers of the system.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally. So you would change the guaranteed, you would repackage it in some other way.
Yeah, I would just get rid of the guaranteed part. I would just say, we're going to create jobs if you want it, and it'll just meet the full employment because people that want to work will work. People that need the jobs will seek it out, and that'll just drive the program. And then people can get removed if they're not responsible, at work, and they're not just abusing taxpayers' money to support such a system. I just don't see that being beneficial in any way, the guaranteed part.
Okay, fair enough.
You disagree on that?
Oh, no, that's a valid point. Just what would he change it to? The federal jobs program?
I would just probably change it to something like a federal jobs opportunity program or something like that. Just like an opportunities program. You have the opportunity to gain a job through the government, get government benefits, get networking, get a free resume builder person, a free lifetime employment coach. I mean, the benefits are just mind-blowing. I can't even imagine why anybody with half a grain of sense would think that it would be a problem. Now, in terms of bureaucracy, that's the other part that people don't understand is the federal jobs program is going to be on the local level. The monies are going to be sent locally, and it's going to be people that's hired into it to take care of it on a local level, to ferret out, scout out the needs of that local economy, and working with contractors, job entrepreneurs, things like that, to help find jobs, ferret out jobs, create jobs, right? So it's not like you're going to be answering to the government. You can be working at the local level. So that takes care of the bureaucracy. It's just basically going to be a site, and you've got the people there that will take care of the HR. They just have to answer to the government to make sure that they're running the shop properly. So.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So yeah.
Hey, did you see Bernie's speech?
Oh yeah. Let's talk on that.
Talk about Bernie's speech.
Yeah, I saw most of it. I thought it was one of the best, if not the best, speeches he's given thus far. He had hit all the right notes. He brought in FDR. He brought in, how the establishment hates me and that he welcomes their hate. Bring it on. It was. He needs to just keep doing that. He needs to keep bringing that on, that fire, that.
It was one word masterclass. It was just a masterclass of Sanders,
Right.
all consolidated within 45 minutes. The anti-authoritarianism route. He just laid that out beautifully. How the world is leaning towards authoritarianism, and how we have to, move to something, called democratic socialism, to combat this rising authoritarianism in the world. And it was beautiful. It was breathtaking. It was crucial. Nobody should, even if you're not a fan of Sanders, everybody should hear and watch this 45-minute speech on democratic
Mhm.
socialism. It was just amazing. I loved it. Well, that's all we got here for you on Progressive Talk, episode number 8. We will see you next week on Progressive Talk, episode number 9. Have a great one.